Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. So today we're going to be looking at the crit item rework coming in 9.3, which is not on Wednesday, but is the Wednesday, what, 2 Wednesdays after that. So it's about 3 weeks away. Basically, it's going to ship with the crit item changes. The biggest thing probably is the Infinity Edge rework, but let's go through the items at the moment. This is probably closer to what we're actually going to get. Some of it is really good, and some of it is definitely not so good. Like the new Phantom Dancer, I'm not particularly a fan of that, but just having a look at it in a broad way, I guess, the idea behind all of this anyway is the crit users have an item path that they're pretty excited about. They have defensive options that fit into a crit build, which is something we've never really had before. And also crit users become more satisfying for all levels of play. So basically it's good to play a Caitlyn at high elo as well as low elo. I just wanted to let you guys know as well, this video is sponsored by Opinion Outpost, who we've been working with for ages on the channel. A lot of you use them already, but it's a way to get paid for taking online surveys. So if you want a new skin or something, you can earn the RP while sitting in your queue times. It doesn't take very long at all, and it is so easy. We've used it for a while, as I've said, but go and click my link down below so you don't miss out. And thank you to Opinion Outpost for sponsoring us again. I want to kick it off with the Infinity Edge change, because it's probably one of the biggest things, right? So as you can see on screen, it's going to get a rework Reaver basically back to what it was before. 70 AD, 25% crit chance, and critical strike still 225%. Damage instead of 200. I don't know why I didn't say 225% instead of 200%, right? So comparing it to the last version of Infinity we had before the rework, it's less AD, actually 10 less AD. It's 5% more crit though, and it used to be 250%. So this is going to be worse. It's not going to be as good as before. You can put it in the build wherever you like now because it has some AD, has some crit on its own. It's a standalone item, right? It works as an item on its own, doesn't need anything else to buff it up like it did before with the doubling the crit chance, right? So that is a good part about it. You can buy it first, you can buy it second, you can even buy it third if you want to and follow something similar now, but chances are you're going to get this in the first kind of couple of items that you get, and because it is a percentage bonus, it will work like before where it actually makes a crit user instantly good as soon as they buy this item, no matter what else you have. So that part is really good. I like this. It is a straight up nerf for what we had before, but I think compared to like how it is right now, this is actually an upgrade for us, so that is good. But let's have a look at the rest of it. Let's move on to our zeal items because that's the other half of crit, right? Like you have to build some more crit after Infinity Edge to make it work. So the big thing here is that it's 5% less crit. These items all have 25% now. I'm guessing because Infinity Edge has 25% on it at the same time. So when you get 2 items, you're going to have your 50%, get a third, you would have your 75%. It's actually quite difficult for us to get to 100% crit now compared to before. I guess you could throw in another one as well if you really wanted to, but it is a little bit weird. So 100% crit is kind of being not removed from the game, but it's definitely not as viable as it was before. I actually compare it to what we have at the moment on live servers. Infinity Edge doubles your crit chance, and Rapid Fire Can has 30%. So that would actually go up to 60%. And at 2 items, we would, or with these 2 items, we would have less crit chance than before. The only thing to bear in mind is that obviously you don't have to get your Stormrazor anymore. I want to talk about that in a little bit because it does kind of make Stormrazor a little bit weird. But basically, if we have our Infinity Edge first and a Rapid Fire Cannon, those are just 2 items, and you do get 50% crit to pretty much start the game, which is actually pretty good. The part that I think most people are going to have an issue with, and I do as well, is with the Phantom Dancer rework. So when this first came out, like when they talked about the first round time and stuff, it was actually pretty good. I was pretty excited for it. It was nice, but now it's not so much. So it has 30% attack speed, which you'll realize in a second is actually pretty low. 25% crit chance, 7% move speed, and then the lifeline passive. It's going to be taking damage. It would reduce your health below 30%. You get a shield that absorbs 280 damage for 5 seconds on a 90-second cooldown. So compared to last time, we don't have to build a Hex Shrinker to build into the PD. You'll notice the build path is actually back to how it is pretty much now, except an extra Brawler's Glove thrown in there as well. So that part is good, right? That is a little bit the same. But the current version of PD has 45% attack speed, has 30% crit, has 5% move speed on it, and then you get 7% extra move speed when you're near enemy champions, and you also get the 12% damage reduction at the same time. So the difference in that, you lose some attack speed, you lose some crit, you actually lose move speed with the passive considered as well, and you have no damage reduction. But all you're getting for all of that stuff that you're losing is a 280 damage shield that is procced if you get below 30% health. So if you never get below 30% health, there's a straight up much worse item. But if you do, then I guess you get the shield. But at the same time, you lose the damage reduction, which I don't think like really equals out to the 280 shield anyway. So basically what I'm trying to say is I think this version of PD is actually worse than what we have right now. And I know it's better against burst damage because the damage reduction can like not apply and stuff. But all honesty, like I would actually prefer to have the current one on live servers rather than this. Like I don't think this is actually that good at all. When we get into some other stuff as well, the other really interesting thing for me is the Essence Reaver is kind of going back to how it was before the rework. And then we're getting a new item, the Spirit of Sojin, which is kind of like weird because it used to be a bruiser item. Now they're kind of changing that into the current one. So if we look at the new item, first of all, actually, it's basically just what Essence Reaver is right now. You're losing 5 AD, you're losing 300 mana, but you have the same passive gaining 50% attack speed and basic attacks refund 20% of your remaining non-ultimate cooldown. The weird thing for me is that this is actually the same price as Essence Reaver right now. And actually, so for the same price, you're losing 5 AD and 300 mana. So we're actually paying more for the rest of it, right? Like it's actually a straight up a worse item than the current Essence Reaver. I understand why I've taken it off because it kind of like fits with the Essence Reaver, like the mana hitting and everything like that. But surely you have to give it some extra stat to make it worthwhile, right? Like nobody really buys it right now anyway. And then you're taking off part of it and making everything else in turn more expensive. It doesn't really make any sense for me at all. If we look at the actual Essence Reaver though, so it's going to be 60 AD, 25% crit chance, a 20% cooldown reduction on there as well, and basic attacks refund 1.5% of your missing mana. So this is really similar to except how like the mana works to the old one, sorry, before we had the rework. You actually get more crit on this though, less AD, but you get more cooldown reduction, double the cooldown reduction. So 20% is actually really, really good. And the really cool thing as well is this can slot into pretty much any build now because it has some crit again. So we actually thought when it was being reworked that it would be better because you didn't have to build it with a crit build. Turns out most crit champions that would have built this kind of felt like it was pretty sad without the crit chance. So they've added it back on. You could now have, for example, you could have a Essence Reaver, you could have a Rapid Fire Cannon, and you could have Infinity Edge. Those 3 items will be 75% crit chance, which is really good. Have a lot of AD, some attack speed as well, and some cooldown reduction. So we might see like the return of Crit Lucian or Xayah, for example. Xayah will be really good. Essence Reaver, Rapid Fire, and Infinity Edge. So it kind of makes that style of champion so much better. That wants to mix their abilities and crit chance together, which we don't actually really have at the moment. One thing I do want to go into though is where like Stormrazor really fits into a build now, because all these changes are pretty cool. I think like they're not that bad at all. But one thing is Stormrazor just doesn't really make sense with this anymore. So let me explain, right? Stormrazor is really good. You get AD, you get attack speed, you get guaranteed crit, and right now you have to buy it or you're not strong enough as a crit champion in the lane phase. And it is a big boost of power, which is really nice, right? But the thing is, like with the synergy, it's kind of anti-synergy with Infinity Edge a little bit. It doesn't really make as much sense. You might find that actually you can go straight rush Stormrazor into Infinity Edge, and the Infinity Edge, sorry, will boost the Stormrazor guaranteed crit, and it might have some good synergy because you have a lot of AD. But if that doesn't work, then I don't think anybody's going to buy it anymore because it just doesn't make sense. What I'd expect people to do is go BF Sword first, then into Azil, and then into Infinity Edge. You could rush Infinity Edge if you want to, but just let me explain very quickly. So BF Sword is really good for the lane phase. Obviously, you guys know that. The AD for your abilities, CS better, trade better, everything. It's really good. Then you get your Zeal afterwards, though. You get a bit more crit chance. You get some attack speed as well, which is really going to help on any crit-reliant champion. Then you get your Infinity Edge afterwards. That is actually going to be 40% crit chance. You have the bonus damage on there as well whenever you do crit, and you have your AD as well, the 70 AD on the Infinity Edge, which is a really good mix of your AD and your attack speed, especially if you've got your Berserkers. Then you go straight into a Rapid Fire Cannon, and it kind of delays your initial power spike a little bit. So you might actually be weaker with this setup just for a little bit of the game, like in the lane phase and stuff, but then after that, you'll be better at 2 items. The problem you're going to have with Stormrazor is that you kind of want like your Infinity Edge pretty early into the game with this kind of like percentage damage at least. So if you get Stormrazor, if you don't rush your Infinity Edge second, if that doesn't work, it doesn't really make sense to pick it up anymore. It's just not as good with this iteration of the crit changes, if that makes sense. Like it will be better probably to get 3 items that are crit. So Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire, Shiv, or Essence Reaver, or something like that. Throw that in all together and have like a 75% crit chance build rather than having Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire, 50%, and then having your Stormrazor first to guarantee the first thing. Because it just doesn't really make sense. 50% crit is not really that strong. You kind of want at least 75%, in my opinion, to win team fights. So it just doesn't really fit into any build. And I feel like maybe you're kind of killing this item. It's a shame that they're not doing anything else with it to make it just like a little bit better. I guess the last thing with this as well is the Last Whisper change. So it's just the component part, like this part, the 1450 part. It's going to be 20 attack damage, but 20% arm penetration, which is a lot better. And if you are struggling against a tank or something like that, you can pick this up. It's kind of like a pretty cheap, I guess, option. Leave it on this. Don't upgrade it. You don't have to upgrade it anyway. You can if you want to, obviously. But you can just have this 1450 gold, invest that into killing a tank, and then go back to your normal build. Those are going to be the crit changes then. I tried to do this with less of a script, I guess. so it'd flow a bit more naturally and I could talk to you guys, because obviously I'm an AD carry main. I have a lot of opinions on this, so I've been playing the game for a long time. I'm not entirely sure this is going to fix. I think the Stormraiser issue is kind of there. The Phantom Dancer is not that good at all. I like the Essence Reaver though. I think that's actually pretty good. Let me know what you think anyway, whether you prefer fully scripted or more my opinion stuff. But thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'm probably streaming right now, depending on when I release this video as well. So yeah, come and watch that. But thank you guys for watching the video. And for now, I will leave you with robots.